Lots going on in the news right now to discuss. Lindsey Graham, wow. Don't have all the details, but initial reports suggested that deep vein thrombosis could have been a cause of his death, which is a condition you get, basically a blood clot, after sitting for long periods of time, and it's often associated with long airline rides. This is why I'm an aisle guy in general. Sometimes on a flight, let's say I'm flying overnight from Hawaii to LA or to Dallas or something, it's 6 to 8 hours. I'll get a window seat just so I can maybe sleep better. But you got to get up. You cannot be sitting for long distances. We don't know if this is what actually happened to Lindsey, but just some initial reporting suggests that. So keep it in mind when you're flying. I'm in Hawaii right now, guiding a tour. And it took me a while to get here. I actually came here from Austria. I was in Austria for about 10 days doing a series of stories. And to get from Austria to Hawaii is not easy. My routing was from Vienna to Zurich, Zurich to Dallas, Dallas to Florida. Had about a 12-hour layover in Florida. Then flew up to Charlotte, then to LA. And then finally to Honolulu. It was about 50 hours of travel. Pretty brutal. I did it to myself, doing the cheapo routes, which reminds me, I wanted to tell you about this. A previous trip, it's just such a eye-opening experience. This happened to me right before I went to Austria. And then I told some people about it in Austria, and they were just completely dumbfounded. Obviously, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably know that when you book a flight route with multiple connections, it's cheaper than taking a direct flight. If you have one connection, it's cheaper than direct. If you have two connections, usually cheaper than one connection. And you buy that flight accordingly. Is it worth your time to go through that itinerary to save the money? Oftentimes, I book flights with multiple stops to save money on the flights. And I did so on one itinerary, and I remember looking at the two flight options. I could go with one connection with a short layover, or I could do one connection, but there was about a 6-hour layover until the next flight. It wasn't worth my time to wait, and I chose the one with the shorter connection. My first flight ended up being delayed. I missed my connection, and then I ended up having to wait those 6 hours anyway for the next flight. The first flight was delayed because of maintenance, so that's the airline's fault. However, in America, airlines are not responsible, other than giving you a $12 food voucher, they're not responsible to financially compensate you if the flight arrives late. Even though everybody knows they price the routes according to how soon they arrive, total travel time typically. So even though I had paid for the more direct, streamlined route, and even though their plane was messed up, their fault, which resulted in me arriving way later and actually being on that itinerary with the 6-hour layover, taking that flight that was on that itinerary later that night, they offered me nothing in compensation. Airlines in America, by law, are not required to compensate you. There's no passenger protection for that. However, in Europe, it is a much different story. Since this has happened to me, and I know, you got to take the good with the bad. I try not to bitch too much, but sometimes it's fun when you're having a beer to talk about some travel stories. And I was telling some people in Europe about it, and their jaws just dropped because in Europe, they have specific time thresholds. So if a flight is more than 4 hours late, more than 6 hours late, there are different financial compensations passengers are entitled to. For example, one guy I was talking to said that his flight was 5 hours late arrival due to an airline issue. It can't be due to weather or anything, but due to a mechanical issue or airline staffing or something. And he received 900 euros in compensation. And for him, it was great because his work had booked his flight, but the refund has to go to the ticket holder. So he didn't pay for the flight, and then he got 900 euros back. What a steal. Was talking to an American buddy who had the same thing happen to him. He was traveling for pleasure, but was over in Europe. One of the flights got delayed. They arrived some hours later, and he received like over $500 in compensation. I was astonished by this, and then I experienced it myself. It even applies to trains in Europe. I was taking some trains through Austria, and one of them was delayed, and we arrived about 2 hours late, and it was due to whatever, but something that was their fault, and they refunded me 30% of the ticket. How cool is that? We need something like that in America. Will we ever get it? I'm doubtful. But something to be thinking about. America, they do not have to make it right when they screw up. They can sell the ticket at a certain price because the ticket is presumably a better option than the secondary option, but they don't have to compensate you if they don't deliver. What other industry can do that? I'm trying to think of one. What industry can advertise a product, not deliver the product, give you a lesser product, and then still charge you for the original product? I can't think of one. If you can think of one, let me know. It was kind of annoying, but I've moved on. I did have some very peaceful moments in Austria. I was exploring mostly the western part of the country, ended up in Vienna at the end of it. I've been to Vienna before. It's a big city. It was quite hot. I was there during the heat wave, and not a lot of hotels in Europe have air conditioning. Few and far between. And the look on these people's faces when I even asked for a fan was pretty priceless. It was almost being shamed. They would give you these little tiny fans that were about as, they look like little kind of mini bathroom fans or something, about 6 to 8 inches in diameter. And I don't know, hotel people, sometimes they're just annoyed by customer requests. As a guide, I can get that. But it was quite funny. It was quite funny to see, and it was about in the mid 80s in some of my hotel rooms, so very difficult to sleep. If I had a balcony door, definitely would sleep with it open, but oftentimes did not have a balcony. So interesting experience. Definitely made me thankful. I don't know what they're going to do over there. I don't know how that's going to work. If it keeps getting this hot every summer, I'm not sure why someone would pay all that money to put themselves through that. But I digress. We'll see. I did have some peaceful moments in Austria, mostly experiencing the western part in and around the area of Salzburg and Salzkammergut. I went to Zillamsee, which is a beautiful mountain area, so I'll be publishing some of those stories in the coming weeks. I mostly went hiking. It was a lot of hiking, a lot of time outside, a lot of time in nature. There's beautiful mountain trails everywhere. Obviously, it's the Austrian Alps. Spent a night in an alpine hut, and I've been more into this, just trying to attune to nature. I've always been pretty good about using all five senses when being on the hike and being aware of the surroundings, but I made a little recording. I don't like to bring technology in too much because it can be distracting, but instead of taking pictures, I've sometimes been recording sounds, because it's just, I can look around, I can start the recording and still keep my visual focus on what I'm doing, not stare into a screen, not get distracted by, is it a good photo? How does it look? Let me look at how it came out. Oh, let's try this way, the lighting, blah, blah, blah. That's so distracting. But to just push record on your phone, a voice memo, and then really tune in to what you're listening to and what it might be recording. And then you still have your visuals, so you can look around free, and there's really nothing to review on the screen. You just start it and go, and it's been really peaceful. So I want to play a little montage of my walks through the Austrian countryside. Let's take a listen. So there you have it. Some wind, some weather, some thunder, some cowbells, some screaming goats. I know it's not the best audio quality. It's just with a cell phone. But to me, just a lot of peacefulness. Try it. Try it on your next trip, your next hike, even recording people in cities, the hustle and bustle, that ambience. My buddy Matt runs a great YouTube channel called Ambient New York. And when he first started, he did a lot of walking through New York City, and it was always just the crowd noise you would hear, the hustle and bustle of the city, and it can be very relaxing. So even people can provide a soundtrack. I prefer nature typically, but give it a try on your next trip. Let's look at this. There was a story that caught my eye because it triggered something inside me. As you know, airlines have implemented the bag fees, so a lot of people are trying to carry on bags because of obvious reasons. It takes a long time to get your bags, etc. You don't want to pay, and it's just nice to keep your bag with you when you have flight delays, when you have other things happen that disrupt your itinerary. If you have your bag in your hands, you're much more flexible versus having it be somewhere under the airport or on some other plane. So this story caught my eye. Delta Airlines runs over passengers' expensive gear with a truck after after forcing them to gate check their carry-on bag. So someone had a bunch of photography equipment in a bag. They were carrying it on the plane. It was of the proper size to fit in the overhead bin. However, airlines, because so many people are choosing to carry on their bag, they're running out of space in the overhead bins. So people in group 8 and 9, I swear, I was sitting in the airport, I don't know when it was, but maybe a month ago or so, and they come on the intercom. They start early. Hey, welcome to flight, blah, blah, blah. We're going to begin boarding soon. We have a completely full flight. There's going to be limited overhead space, and we're going to need to check X amount of bags. If you want to volunteer, come on up. It's free of charge. Not many people came up because if they wanted to check their bag, they would have done so already, most likely. So nobody came up. And the airline's employees got pretty irritated. They kept coming back on over and over again, every time a little angrier, asking people to volunteer to check their bag, to the point where I thought they were going to come on and say, if we don't get 10 bags checked right now, we will begin executing passengers until enough bags have been checked. They were getting pissed, and I don't blame people for not volunteering. I certainly don't. The airlines have just so fucked themselves in this. I don't know what they thought was going to happen when they started charging for bags and all this stuff. It was really poorly thought out on their part, and they're just kind of lying in their own bed that they made for themselves. But it's also because of stories like this that come out. Delta Airlines runs over passengers' expensive gear with a truck after forced gate checking their carry-on bag. Looks like a camera case. They forced her to check it at the gate because there wasn't enough room up top, and it ended up getting all banged up. I for the life of me, just cannot figure out why the airlines don't just assign an overhead space for every seat. Maybe there's not enough space. I don't know. But if we can put a man on the moon, we can do this. Just design an airline cabin where every seat has a corresponding overhead space and make it a certain dimension and publish those dimensions and make it that your suitcase has to fit in there. Put little dividers between the seat sections so that you can't spill into anyone else's. And if your bag fits in there, it fits in there. And if it doesn't fit in there, then you're charged a higher fee to then check the bag. Because the argument is, if they let people bring it on and then it doesn't fit, then you got to check it and it's more work and it delays the departure. So just de-incentivize people from doing that by making the bag fee $100 if it doesn't fit. If you bring on a bag and it doesn't fit, it's $100, or it doesn't travel with you or something. Make the penalty so that people won't do it. This is a civilized society. People should be able to figure this out. Hawaiian Airlines is doing this. I was at the airport the other day with a group. They came on, and again, they were asking for free check bags, and their threat, instead of executing people, was that we're going to check your bag as it boards, And if it doesn't fit in the gate sizer, the little bin they have to check the size, then it's going to be a fee to check it. So if you brought it up, it would be free to check. But if they checked yours going onto the plane and put it in the gate sizer, it would have been a higher fee. I think it was like $50 or something, which is higher than the Hawaiian Airlines normal bag check fee. That's reasonable. You have to enforce some sort of rule. You have to in the current system, because I agree, people are going to push the rules, and you got to do something, because it's not that I feel bad for the airlines financially. I just don't want it to slow the whole boarding process. I see the point there. So charge a higher fee or something. I don't know. They're lying in the bed that they made for themselves. And I saw this story on a related note. United Airlines is piloting a new option. I think it's at O'Hare in Chicago, that allows you, if you're on an early flight in the morning, you can drop off your bag the night before. I'm not making this up. It's called the Twilight Bag Drop program. And it's active right now at Chicago O'Hare, along with Guam International Airport. Okay. I missed this, but apparently it's been in a trial period for over 3 months. And the program allows passengers leaving on United flights before 10 a.m. to drop off their checked bags curbside the night before. Since the program started, United Airlines has checked over 1,500 bags as part of the Twilight Bag Drop initiative. So far, customers love it and have given overwhelmingly positive feedback, according to United. Well, of course. If your United Airlines flight leaves before 10 a.m., you're eligible to drop curbside, and you should receive an email clarifying this. You can drop your bags between 6 and 9 the evening prior to your flight. I guess this is to try and mitigate long lines in the early morning. Maybe they're staffing down. I don't know. This seems... Who is dropping their bag off the night before? You got some eager beavers out there. Imagine being so stressed about flying that you will drive or cab or Uber or take a train to the airport the night before your flight, drop off your bag, go back home, and then in the morning return to the airport. Why would you do that? Seriously, how much anxiety do you have to go to the airport, one of the worst, agreeably, it's agreed upon, one of the worst places to be, maybe on planet Earth? You would go to the airport the night before your flight. You would pay for the gas to get there. You would pay for the Uber to get there. You would get on a train with your bag. You would go to the airport between 6 and 9 p.m. You would drop off your bag, and then you would go back to your house, and then you would go to sleep, and then wake up to get to the airport for your flight before 10 a.m. I don't get it. I don't get it. If you have that much anxiety that you're going to go to the airport the night before, you're not someone that's going to arrive 30 minutes before the flight. So it's not like I checked my bag the night before, so now I can really push it and just arrive an hour before the flight and get through security. No. You're still arriving 2 hours beforehand. You're not saving any time. You're not. If you are, you let me know. I want to meet someone that's did this. I need to know who has done this and why. Is there a reasonable explanation for doing this? Maybe if you're staying at the airport hotel and you have nothing to do and you figure, well, I'll just bring it down now, and this way I don't have to deal with it in the morning. All right, that I could see. If you're at a hotel at the airport with nothing else to do, and you can either walk to this drop-off point or you jump on a little shuttle from your little airport kind of hotel nearby. All right, I could see that. This way you don't have to deal with it. You just have a coffee in the morning, and maybe you can get there a half hour later or something. I get that. But if you're traveling from your home that is more than 5 to 10 minutes away from the airport, which a majority of people are, How does this program work for you? I don't get it. I don't get it. Let me know. Let me know. Will@wakeandwander.com. I'm curious to know who's done it. All right. I wanted to play you guys another clip. I'm on a tour right now. We're staying at a hotel in Waikiki, and last night the fire alarm went off 3 times. And I got to tell you, that's annoying in its own right. But when you're guiding a group of 27 people, it's even worse, because then everybody, it looks to you. Why is the fire alarm going off? What's going on with this hotel? Blah, blah, blah. But even still, that aside, I just want you to hear this. This is the message they played when the fire alarm had been given all clear. It went off originally to signal some kind of emergency. And then this message came on, and I'm just going to play it for you once or twice, but this was on repeat multiple times, and then it would stop for maybe 3 to 4 minutes, and then it would come back on again. Tell me if this isn't the most apocalyptic message you could possibly play over a loudspeaker, and also just very curiously phrased. All right, take a listen.
Attention. Your attention, please. The building emergency condition has been cleared. You may return to your normal work activities. The building emergency condition has been cleared. You may return to your normal work activities. Attention. Your attention, please. The building emergency condition has been cleared. You may return to your normal work activities.
Imagine being in bed and having that message come on. So weird, very creepy. And you now may return to your normal work activities? Jesus. It's like if you ever wondered if we live in a capitalistic society, maybe you just listen to that message. There's no more fire in the building, so you may return to your normal working activities. So bizarre. Just so weird. Man, so weird. All right. I think I got to go. I wanted to do more, but I think I got to go. It's been a busy month. I know it's been a while since the last episode. I want to be more consistent with the episodes, and I think I'll get there, but it's not going to be this month. I'm leading back-to-back tours, super busy with writing. I'm getting ready to start EMT school in a couple weeks. I just got my book in the mail. It's like 6 inches thick. I'm terrified, which is good. I'm ready to challenge myself again. I'll probably talk more about that at some point. Got a couple guests lined up for August. We'll get this baby rolling again. Thank you guys so much for listening, and safe travels to wherever you're headed. Hope you have some fun summer trips planned. If you want to get in touch, Will@Wake and Wander. Bye, everybody.
Riding the terrain, flying high up once again. Got my crew sitting healthy and my boo living wealthy. Level 99, never settle in my mind. So I pedal and I climb up the pedestal and find almighty weapon. So I calm, lightly step into the castle. Satchel, tackled, wrestled down the corridor where I'm grounded through the floor. Roundhouse into my core, down, out, and through the door. Sword down at my side, I gotta round up and ride. Face boss, break jaws till I take off. Face off, stop and swing my serious strike. This is it. Take the title, disappear in the night to the whole wide world. Got the keys to the kingdom overseas with the wisdom guarantee that my rhythm hit the whole wide world. Slay the boss in the castle when we cross final battle. Then I'll walk out, travel to the whole wide world. Got the keys to the kingdom overseas with the wisdom guarantee that my rhythm hit the whole